Hey guys, so today I'm here to do my labor and delivery story with baby number 2. So the baby is right here next to me, and at the end of the video I'll show you him. He's sleeping. Today is like, he's almost a month old. In 2 days he'll be a month, and he has not been sleeping well today. So I'm glad that he's asleep now. But basically I put all the notes here in my phone so I can remember everything to tell you guys. So I was originally trying for a VBAC, and it ended up being a failed induction / VBAC, and I had a repeat C-section. Let's go ahead and get started with everything for this video. So it all started on Monday, which was August 20th, so my last OB appointment, and it was 5 days before my due date. So I went in for that appointment and I was 3 centimeters dilated, which I had been about 3 centimeters, I think, since the previous week as well. And basically she did my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was a bit elevated, and the trend that had been happening was that every appointment my blood pressure had been going up little by little. So my doctor was she was concerned with that. So she actually sent me over to triage because my doctor's office is at the hospital. So from her office I had to go over to triage to be monitored for 1 hour to see if my blood pressure came down. And if it didn't come down, then they were going to go ahead and admit me, and I was going to be having the baby that day. So my blood pressure did end up going down, and at that appointment I also did get a membrane sweep. I can't say that word. Membrane sweep. It didn't work. So I was having some contractions. They were showing me on the monitor, but I really wasn't feeling them. So it didn't work. Okay, so the rest of that week I did all of the old wives' tales in order to try to get him out. Nothing worked, from castor oil, which I was really afraid to do that one. I was afraid to drink a lot of it, but I did drink castor oil like on 2 different occasions, so that didn't work. Castor oil didn't work, as well as sex did not work, or the red raspberry leaf tea. None of that worked for me. So originally I had a C-section scheduled for Monday the 27th of August, and I begged my doctor to not schedule me a C-section. I didn't want a C-section, but she's the type of doctor, Emmanuel likes to call it, a very textbook type of doctor. She didn't want me to go past the 40 weeks, not too far over. Obviously my due date was on Saturday, and they don't schedule C-sections for Saturdays, so that's why it was for Monday anyway. But she was just very textbook. She was one of the doctors, she didn't want me to go past 40 weeks. She was very hesitant about me. Not hesitant, because she was VBAC tolerant. That's what I can say. That's what I learned. I know in the other video I told you guys that my doctor was very on board with VBAC. So what I come to realize is that she was VBAC tolerant if my body went into labor on its own, which it never did. So I don't know what it is with me. I just feel like I'm just destined to have C-section. So it is what it is, basically. So basically it was scheduled for a C-section on Monday the 27th, but they went ahead and changed it, and she did a scheduled induction for me. So okay, we'll talk about that anyway. So I had a scheduled induction for Monday the 27th, and then she changed it to an induction because of medical reasons. Because my blood pressure kept being elevated and it kept rising, then she went ahead and changed it. She wasn't gonna originally do an induction for like elective reasons, but she changed it because of medical reasons. So that's what happened there. So what happened on Saturday the 25th, that night on my due date, I went to triage again because I was having some contractions. I knew that they weren't like true labor contractions because they weren't intense enough, but I figured, hey, if I just go in with contractions, that they should be able to like keep me or admit me or just something, because it was my due date. I was 40 weeks at that point. Just a little disclaimer, because I know some of y'all might come for me in the comments. I know a due date is very subjective and it's just an estimate, but like I said, my doctor is very textbook, and she was not going to allow me to go past 40 weeks. So I was monitored for like 3 hours, I want to say, and I would have spurts of like, big contractions, and then spurts of small ones, and then it would go up and down. So basically they went ahead and they were going to release me, and literally they brought the paperwork. I was signing like to be released, and then the blood pressure cuff, it took my blood pressure one last time, and that blood pressure was really high. I forgot the exact numbers. I think it was like 190 something like that. Maybe not 190 something, I can't remember, but it was high. It was even in the red, and the nurse was like, oh my, this is not good, let me call the doctor. So she called the doctor that was, the ER doctor, the triage doctor that night. triage doctor called my OB and they said, no, we need to go ahead and keep her. So that night I got admitted, which was, it was officially already the 26th. So I got admitted on that day, or that night. So Emmanuel was there with me and Christian. Christian was asleep. Like I said, it was really late at night. So he took Christian home. Well, he took Christian to the to his auntie's house, to the twins' house. And then he came back, and in that whole process they were getting me set up in my room and everything. So I went ahead and started on a very, very low dosage of Pitocin. So it was really, really low. That was my doctor's orders, and just a low dose of Pitocin because I was trying for VBAC and everything. They don't like to give you a high dose of Pitocin because of the scar tissue that you already have. And basically, in it, you run the risk of uterine rupture. With a VBAC, the uterine rupture risk is 1%, but when you add Pitocin, it becomes 2%. It doubles. So that's why she wanted to do just a very low dosage. And basically, she was only giving me until 6 p.m. that day. So like I said, I basically about a little more than 12 hours to try to go into labor on my own with the Pitocin. And let me tell you what happened. Like I said, I started on Pitocin around 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning, and we just went to sleep. So didn't have an epidural or anything. So like I said, they weren't that strong. By that time they kind of had started coming. But I was able to sleep through them a bit. I didn't have an epidural. I didn't want epidural. In the morning, Emmanuel was there with me, so we woke up. We walked around in the hallways. I bounced on the little peanut ball, all that stuff, and nothing was happening. Like, it wasn't bringing him down. And my cervix, I was still at a 3. Doctor came in, and she was going to break my water. This was around 12 p.m. So she was doing a check. She was literally about to break my water. They had the little device out and everything. Stuck her hand in there and she said, I feel his little fingers. Let me just make sure that because she was thinking that his fingers were like this. And she just wanted to make sure that something, like she wasn't gonna poke him or something, I don't know. She was like, let's do an ultrasound real quick. They brought in the ultrasound machine, and as soon as she said, Crystal, what is this? I just knew in my mind that he was breached. So I just knew the fingers that she thought she was feeling was actually his little toes, and that was the case. So sometime in the week, or literally in 1 week, he turned. Sometime during that week, he could have even turned overnight, because the ER doctor never told me that. Because she also did an ultrasound. They were trying to check on my my water, not the water, but like, what is it called, the fluid levels. There we go. She was trying to check my fluid level. She didn't mention that he was breached. I'm pretty sure she would have noticed that he was breached in the ER that night. Like, that's something they would notice. So literally, I think he turned himself that night, and he was breached because he had been head down for a week. So the doctor immediately ordered the Pitocin to be turned off and said, okay, getting prepped for C-section. Like, the first time it happened to me, whenever I had C-section with Christian, I cried. I was so sad and devastated and disappointed. I didn't want a C-section. But this time around, I just said, you know what, God, it is what it is. I didn't even cry. I just said it is what it is, because I knew there was a chance I would be getting a C-section anyway. Just because she's the type of doctor, she wanted my body to go into its own natural labor with VBAC. So we came in, was prepped for the C-section and everything. I got a spinal block. The anesthesiologist came in, talked with me. He was a super nice guy, super nice doctor. I really liked him. Came in, explained everything. With this one, it was a bit different because, like, I delivered at 2 different hospitals. So with the first one with Christian, Emmanuel was allowed to come in the room with me, and like, when they were doing the spinal block, like, I held my head, like my head was in his like chest and everything. But for this one, he couldn't come in literally until the last minute, and I kind of felt some type of way about it because he's like my support system, and I'm just like, I wanted my husband there, but it is what it is. That was their rules. So he wasn't able to come in until the very, very last minute, and he got all suited up and everything. And honestly, with this C-section, I feel like it was a lot different. I feel like because I knew what to expect. He put the light, I think it was lidocaine, the numbing medicine, he put that in. I don't even know if that's right. I just said something. But he put that in, and then he put in the spinal block. And it didn't hurt as much as I remember. It kind of stung. I think the first medicine kind of stung. so it didn't hurt as bad as I remembered. Then went ahead, did the C-section. Baby came out. I don't even remember feeling too much pressure. Like they always say, you know, you feel pressure and stuff like that. Of course I didn't feel them, like the laser cutting or anything. I didn't feel any pain or any pressure, not too much, but I did get really nauseous, just like with Christian. So I was there throwing up. I was really cold, but with this one they put hot towels on my arms, because you know your arms are like spread out like this. So they put hot towels on my chest and arms, so that was really good. Emmanuel was like right here, sitting behind my head right here. And then the anesthesiologist was like behind me there. I could see the baby over here. That's that. I mean, it was pretty much, you know, it was a quick thing, I feel like. He was born at 2:29 p.m. He weighed 7 pounds and 15 ounces. So 1 more ounce, he would have been 8 pounds. He was 20.5 inches long, I believe. Of course, you know, so afterwards they, you know, did whatever they have to do to get me all stitched up and stuff. And then I went over to, not stitched, I didn't get stitched up, sorry. I think it was like a glue they put. I really don't even know. So then I went back to the recovery room. It was just me and Emmanuel at first. And then after about an hour or so, they let the rest of my family come in, and like my best friend, she was there. Okay, and then throughout the rest of the day, like visitors were coming. And at that time, honestly, I was so in and out of it that I really don't remember who was coming. I don't even remember being awake too much, anything like that. So, you know, that was happening. So, like I said, I had him on a Sunday, and then we were discharged on Tuesday. I did not want to stay in the hospital that long. I wanted to go home as soon as possible. I was like, get me out of this place. So, Camden was breastfed. I breastfed him, you know, in the hospital. He got colostrum and all that good stuff. He passed all of his tests. I was up walking. I did have a little issue with using the restroom. That one took me a minute. Like, I could not pee for anything. They were about to stick another catheter in me, but I like refused. It took me about an hour sitting on the toilet to finally pee, but I was gonna do whatever it had to do to not get a catheter, because when I got the catheter put in, I had the spinal block, so I didn't feel anything. And catheters hurt being put in and taken out. So my pain medicine, so of course, you know, I didn't want a catheter not having a spinal block, basically. So I stopped taking my pain medicine, I want to say about 1.5 weeks postpartum. I don't like being on painkillers and all that stuff, because especially that, like the Tylenol and, which one is it? I think it's Tylenol and hydrocodone. That is to me just a big band-aid, because at the end of the day I still feel like it just numbs the pain, and then when you wake up you still, and then it makes you so sleepy, it just knocks me out, and then you wake up, you still have all this pain. So I don't like taking those drugs. That's that. The day I went in to give birth, I was 212 pounds, a big girl. I know I'm still a big girl, but I'm back down in my pre-pregnancy weight, which is in the 180s. And just like with Christian, I just need to work on losing my belly. Like I said, he was breastfed. He's still breastfed. Okay, so there was a small time that I was giving him formula, like supplementing, but it was literally 1 formula bottle a day, because at that point, that's when I was thinking that I just wanted to exclusively pump and be giving him my milk that way, because my breasts were on fire from the first week and I could not handle it. So I was pumping. Once I saw I couldn't really keep up with like pump give bottle, because I wasn't able to like store anything and have like a storage, if that makes sense. So basically I just had to get him back on my breast, and that's what I've been doing so far. He's exclusively breastfed now. The one thing that I can say is that the doctor came in, you know, after the first day after surgery, so that Monday morning she came in and she told me that while they were doing the C-section, she saw that I had a uterine window. Yeah, my uterine wall, there we go. So my uterine wall became very thin, which means it's like saran wrap thin. Y'all know saran wrap, and they literally, and like you can see the baby through it. So what that means is that you run a very high risk of it rupturing. So that was pretty scary, because you know that was the one thing that I was scared about while I was there. I was getting a little nervous and worked up about, oh my gosh, what if I have a uterine rupture? What if I'm pushing too hard? What if just something like, I really did get nervous about having a uterine rupture, and those things can be very dangerous and life-threatening to baby and the mom. So I was kind of nervous about that. I just feel like everything happens for a reason. Even though a C-section was not in my plans, a second C-section, everything happens for a reason. Maybe that's the reason that he turned, you know. That might be the reason that he turned and became breached, because just because of, you know, the circumstances. So that's that. I just look at it as everything happens for a reason and God has a plan. And basically that's pretty much everything for the video. Like I said, he's doing great, I'm doing good. This C-section was definitely a lot easier. My recovery was still kind of like intense. Like at this point I'm good, like I drive, I do all this stuff now, but it's been 4 weeks, and like at the 2-week mark I was driving because I had to take Christian to school and stuff like that. Emmanuel only got 2 weeks off of work, and then his mom was here with us for 2.5 weeks, and she was a huge help. Now I'm good. So yeah, I just feel like my body kind of knew what to expect, or you know, it's done this before 5 years ago, and that was that. And then also my doctor noted, she also mentioned to me that I was not a good candidate for VBAC, and that if I do have a third baby, that she does recommend that I have a C-section again. Honestly, we don't know if we want to have a third baby. I know I said this with Christian, but I noticed that I did say if I did have a second baby, it would be about 5 years, and look what happened. Look what I've spoken to existence. So literally it was 5 years later, and I mean, I think we might have one more at the most. I just know a C-section is going to be really hard on my body. Like, you know, just to put your body through that again, it's hard. So I know the more C-sections you have, the higher the risk and stuff like that. The recovery is something that's not fun. But I mean, after you get past like the first 1 or 2 weeks, you're okay. Right, like I said, right now I'm at 4 weeks postpartum, and you know, I'm able to move around, do stuff, do what I need to do. I finally feel like myself again. So now let me show you guys little Camden. Here's little Camden. He's sleeping right here in his DockATot. This thing has been amazing. I hate to get him. All right, you guys, here's little Camden. He was getting little baby acne, but of course I just put breast milk on it, and like it clears up in a day. But here he is, his little self, little Cams. I call him Mr. Camerson. I call him Camerson. I don't know where that came from, but I call him Camerson. I call him Mr. Cams. I call him Cam, Camdy, all kinds of stuff like that. He's really sweet. He literally just sleeps and eats, sleeps and eats. But like I said, today he was having a hard time sleeping, and I think it's because he slept all night. He slept from 11 until basically 7 a.m., which is pretty wild. All right, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.